Let us now get some industry perspective. And for this, I would like to invite Somshekhar Vimuri to moderate our panel discussion on this topic. Som is Senior Director Ratings Center of Excellence at CRISIL Ratings. His key responsibilities include formulating rating criteria and policies, ensuring quality and consistency of ratings, and holding interactions with investors and regulators. Now, let me take a moment to introduce our respected panelists for this session. Next, we have with us Mr. Samrat Gupta, MD and CEO of Tata Motors Finance Limited. He is a senior professional having 23 years of hands on execution experience in bringing cultural transformation and change management. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to everyone for this panel discussion on the very important theme liquidity, fundraising, and profitability for NBFCs. As we just saw in the presentation made by Subhashri, concerns around liquidity have waned to an extent for many lenders compared to what we had seen in April and March, just at the onset of the pandemic. But that is not to say that the fundraising has normalized to pre-September 2018 levels. There have been many measures taken by the government and RBI aimed at improving the flow of funds to the non-banks, which have been helpful to the sector and did see funding access improve over the last 6 months. NBFCs are still finding fundraising, especially from the debt capital markets, challenging to say the least. In this context, we believe it is important for us to understand a couple of aspects. One, what are we seeing on the ground today from a funding access and cost perspective, and what this then means for the sector going forward? And second, linked to this would be the profitability impact, given that there are multiple moving parts. We discussed extensively about asset quality and credit costs. So credit costs, of course, is one of the important elements given the pandemic, but also the borrowing costs, how they are moving, the operating expenses, how companies have managed that, and the negative carry due to liquidity maintenance that is there in the current context. To help us understand these aspects better, today we are very privileged to have a very distinguished panel of industry leaders. And over the next 40 to 45 minutes, we will discuss and debate some of these aspects. So my next question is to Samradha. Is investor interest back, in looking at securitization volumes? Do you think that, for the rest of the fiscal, you will see a much better traction in securitization, or the one-time debt restructuring will continue to kind of impact the investor interest in that?
Well, good evening to everybody, and thank you so much to CRISIL team for having me. The topic of securitization, as an alternate source of raising funds or refinancing your assets, has been quite popular with the NBFC sector. I think securitization came down after the Ind AS got implemented from accounting standard perspective 2 years back, and I think direct assignment route came as a savior. Until 31st March 2020, I think direct assignment was a great play for NBFCs, where our assets, where we were closer to customers, banks were able to take PSL credit and buy the asset out at a good cost of funds. I think the pandemic that happened, it was unfortunate. I think the lockdown created the moratorium, and the payment track got muted. As a result of which, whenever a bank wants to buy assets from NBFCs without a payment track, it becomes difficult for a bank or an investor to buy that. As a result, the last 6 to 9 months, securitization or direct assignment has come to a standstill. By saying that, there are certain assets in the NBFC sector, like let's say gold loans or housing loans. I think there the underlying asset prices have improved, as a result of which I think securitization and direct assignment has started happening. That is one green shoot which we are seeing. The second one, I would like to say is the government has offered partial guarantee scheme. As far as partial guarantee scheme is concerned, as long as the pool is triple B plus, a triple B plus pool, the government provides a first loss of 20%. And a first loss of 20% allows the banks to get that comfort to buy the assets out. But saying that, there also, I think we as an organization, we have got approvals close to about 3,000 crores of partial guarantee scheme. And I think CRISIL has helped us. I think I must mention in this forum that you guys have done a great job in helping us in the last 3-4 years in the securitization market. I think the PCG will start. These assets we will start selling them off starting December, Jan, February, March. So partial guarantee scheme for mid-size and large NBFCs is a good way to raise money. That's one. Second, I think one should look at covered bonds. Covered bonds is something which I would say that has come into rescue, where I think from an investor perspective, one can have the company, and one can also have the additional pool of assets that is offered for over collateralization. So I think covered bond markets have started doing well. Added to that, I think one thing that will help us to improve the securitization market, NBFCs, thanks to Government of India coming up with the government guarantee loans, the ECLGS loans. I think the borrowers who are trailing, NBFCs have come forth and given ECLGS loans to quite a few borrowers, where the loans are guaranteed by the government. I think this pool of asset, banks will find it increasingly very easy to buy out at pretty competitive pricing. So I think while covered bonds and PCG doesn't allow the asset to move out of the books, but at least ECLGS loans can be done through the direct assignment route. Last but not least, I think RBI's framework of co-lending, where 80% of the asset can be in the bank's balance sheet and 20% of the asset should be in the balance sheet of the NBFC, either through a mandatory selection or through a discretionary selection by the bank in the form of cherry picking, makes life quite interesting, because NBFCs like ours, we would never want to be arrogant about our size. We would rather co-partner and co-lend with banks and try to make the markets, because we are close to the customer and banks are close to money. And I think co-lending can be a good substitute for direct assignment. With all of this coming into play, I do not see the one-time restructuring to be a showstopper to bring the securitization market or the direct assignment market or the co-lending market back in action, starting Jan, Feb, March. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to come out with alternative and innovative structures, to ensure that we are able to refinance our assets and raise money and also release capital. Thank you.
Thanks, Samratha. Okay, fair enough. So moving on to the overall profitability impact, Samratha, I mean, how do you see the future profitability for NBFCs panning out in the post-COVID era? And what other steps do you think NBFCs will be able to take to protect the profitability, or what innovations do you see in terms of business models for them to enhance the profitability going forward?
Well, thank you once again. I think my view is, I think NBFC's sector and the players have once again proved that they are a bunch of anti-fragile lot. I don't want to use the word resilient, because look at it. There is a demonetization, there is a GST hangover, there is a IL&FS crisis, there is an automotive crisis, there is a BS4, BS6, and the NBFCs continue to thrive. And the more volatile the situation is, more volatile the economy is, I think the NBFC sector is proving time and again, anti-fragility is something which is built of their character. Saying this, I think there are only 4 bits of data that is important to drive profitability into the future, no matter what kind of asset it is. I think net income margin is a very heart of NBFCs, and that is influenced by 2 things: the lending rate and the borrowing cost. When we are looking at the borrowing cost, I think we are in for the next 3 to 5 years. Globally, I think the borrowing cost is going to come down. So the more diversified the liability franchise is for the NBFC, the better it would be, whether it's bond market, whether it is banks. I think we have to find out structures and have a very diversified liability franchise. NBFC should be spending time on that. As far as lending rates are concerned, you would have seen in this whole period, the spreads are actually increasing because NBFCs are able to hold on to the rates. And why is that so? India is a wonderful country. The demographics is amazing. Invest on analytics, invest on demographics, invest on ability to approve credit at the fastest possible time, because we are close to the customer. We are much faster than the bank. We know which customer has an ability to pay, and we also know whose inclination is there. If you can do that, go down the customer segment and also go down different asset classes, I think the rates are going to hold up, and that will improve the NIMs. That is the first measure. The second measure is fee-based income. Why are we so shy of not tying up with the banks on the asset side? banks can be tied up with the asset side and let us earn the sourcing commissions and the collection commissions, because our kind of collection model, I don't think a bank can replicate. And I think that will give us more fee-based income. Second, why are we not cross-selling? We should ensure, I come from commercial vehicle industry, tire financing, fuel financing, repairs, maintenance. If you know the customer and if you know his behavior, the adjacent financing will always give you a fillip. And I think fee-based income is the second thing one should look at. The third is cost to income. If you look at cost to income, it comprises of collection, sourcing, and the reach and infrastructure cost. Our country, if you look at corporate India, this is a situation where corporate India has never been so efficient ever. The kind of work from home, hyper automation, rationalization, whatever it might be, this is the most efficient time any Indian corporate can boast of. And NBFCs, probably the cost to income ratios are all going southwards of 35%, if not 20%, 18% for certain classes of asset. And to my mind, that has happened because of work from home, hyper automation. We should keep that focus and we should not leave that out. And the last bit is credit, cost. As far as credit cost is concerned, we need to learn. I think our runways were very long. We used to have 180 days. We used to have 180 days for GNPA provisioning. Now it has come down to, this ECL and all that has come. So pre-delinquency management, I think NBFCs need to invest heavily into analytics involved in pre-delinquency management. I think my view is invest in analytics for, increasing the reach, for having disbursements and protecting the rates, build a liability franchise, control the fee-based income by partnering with banks and cross-selling all that the customer needs, improve the cost to income with better work from home practices, invest in pre-delinquency management. And I think the anti-fragility will hold us in good stead. And it's a great time to do nation building with money lending. And to my mind, this is the time to really make ourselves and surge ahead. The next 2 to 3 years is going to be a fantastic time for NBFCs. Thank you.